How's it going, gentlemen? Your favorite commissioner coming at you pre-recorded again for another edition of the League 10 recap. And just want to start off by apologizing that I didn't get to one recap last week. I think that's the first one I've missed in a long time, so I'll apologize ahead of time for that. With it being the holidays and whatever, we were out of town, and anyways, doesn't matter. But yeah, really going to try to get back on track of doing these at least, if not every Tuesday, at least on the Wednesdays. Especially with us getting towards playoffs now. And things are, I think, to say over the last 2 weeks have gotten pretty interesting. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that after 12 weeks would be where we're at, I believe you probably. I mean, why would you lie? But still, it's very interesting to say the least. So what I'm going to do is super quick go through last week's matchups, just buzz through them one by one, and then dive in a little bit more to this week's matchups, go into playoff implications, things of that nature. So, let's get started. Last week, week 11, 2 weeks ago, week 11, Perk faced Nick. And now, also, I'm not going to get into the standings because... wait, hold on. Yes, because the ones that they're showing on here are not correct. So... Nick beat Perk 170 to 84. That's got to be one of the biggest blowouts of the year. That's 80 points, 85 points. So Perk lost that one. Look at the matchup super quick. Perk had nobody on his team worth mentioning. He had his kicker get him a negative 1 points, which is really hard to do, especially since I think Tyler Bass? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Holy shit, that guy literally missed 2 field goals. Since Tyler Bass literally, I think, was the one that implemented the change in our kicker scoring, or the one that made us realize it because he scored like 100 points against me, of course. But Nick gets the benefit of Bass scoring negative points against him. Didn't really matter, though, because Nick's team put up a 170 spot. He had 31 points out of Jalen Hurts, 23 points out of Deontay Johnson, 20 points out of Mike Evans, 22 points out of Nick Chubb, and 31 points out of Devontae Adams, and 30 points out of New England's defense. And he had Dan Arnold on as his tight end, who must have went on IR that week because he got him no points. I can't remember if he went on IR last week or the week before. But regardless, Nick won that one. Moving on to the next one, we had Matt versus Corey. Closer matchup here, but weird. Corey still lost 120 to 128. Matt had Justin Jefferson get him 37 points, and Austin Eckler get him 42 points. He also had his kicker, that Chink, Young Hook Hoo, get him negative points. So that's 2 kickers now that we've had. But Matt had 128 points, and what did that be? Honestly, a good third-ish, maybe not quite a third. Came from 2 players, so good for him. 120 points from Corey on the other end. He had Cam Newton with 26 points on his, was that his comeback game? No, maybe. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry got him 21 points, and James Conner got him. Is that actually James Conner? No, that can't be James Conner. That's going to be the wrong guy. It is James Conner. Holy shit. That's a name I haven't heard of. I should say. It's an old name. A couple years ago. 21 points. Sorry, trying to go into this as fast as possible. Next matchup, moving on. Mike versus Mitch. Mike gets beat by Mitch 127 to 129. Matchup here super quick. He had Mike had Keenan Allen get him 20 points. Dalvin Cook, 23 points. Joe Mixon, 24 points. On the other side of the matchup, we have Mitch with Tom Brady and 20 points. Christian McCaffrey, who was on... Oh, hold on. Holding that nugget till later. You'll know where I'm going. Christian McCaffrey, 25 points. Yeah. So, Mitch won that one over Mike. Next matchup was Ben versus Brandon. Battle of the co-workers, and... Actually, so remember when I said that Perk had the biggest blowout or biggest loss to Nick? This one's bigger, 90 points. 177, 178 to 88. Ben, 35 points out of Justin Herbert. 53 points out of Jonathan Taylor. I'd be willing to bet there's been 5 or less people in the history of the league who scored a 50. I remember one. I don't remember who it was, but I remember a 51 one time. Anyways, doesn't matter. 53 points out of John Taylor. 21 points out of Jalen Waddle as well. Sneaky little play there. Brandon, on the other hand, nobody worth mentioning other than the fact that his defense literally got him negative 4 points. So yeah, there's that. And then the match of the week that week was between myself and Nate. I gave Nate his fourth loss of the year, beating him 140 to 120. I had Tyreek Hill give me 20 points, DeAndre Swift give me 23 points, and I had everybody on my team get double digits except for my tight end Hunter Henry. Nate, on the other hand, Adam Thielen 22 points, Zach Ertz. Speaking of old names who play for Arizona now, 29 points out of Zach Ertz. So anyways, that's week 11's matchups. Diving into week 12. Like I said, and I think this is no surprise to any of you, it's getting down there, boys. I mean, I didn't go back because I haven't had time, but if you would go back and look at, I would guess week 6, 7, 8, something like that, look at the standings, you would have never guessed that we'd all be within 3 games of each other. Nate's in first place at 8-4. I'm in ninth place at 5-7. So we're literally with 2 weeks left within 3 games of each other. First matchup of week 12 was between Matt and hold on. Sorry. This is what happens when I don't prepare. Other way. Here we go. Now we're getting where we need to be. First matchup between Perk and Jesus Christ. No, it doesn't matter. I was going to say that whoever got the weekly low score, I think it was Brandon, but whatever, it doesn't matter. First matchup of the week, Perk versus Corey. Speaking of weekly low score, Corey got it. I think he is another repeat offender. We've got a lot of repeat offenders. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to go back and look. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all over the place. Last week 11, the weekly low score was Perk. Sorry. So it was Perk. So we have Corey on here. He is another repeat offender. So we have Nick is a repeat offender, meaning they got the weekly low score more than once. Nick is a repeat offender. Ben is not. Brandon is a repeat offender. Mike is a repeat offender. I am not. Wait, whatever. So we have 5 repeat offenders on here is my point. That's what I'm trying to get at. And 2 of us on here have not been repeat offenders, and that is Ben and myself. So congratulations to us. Matchup, though. Corey had 79 points. Perk had 113. So, Perk, you didn't win. You just didn't lose. Matchup-wise, Perk had Matt Stafford with 23 points. Deebo Samuel at 21 points. And, he started Odell Beckham. Wow. Start a guy who, didn't he just catch his 3rd touchdown? But, hey, good week to start him, I get. Looking at the bench here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Computer's loading. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to wait. Corey, on the other hand, I'm guessing he has nobody worth talking about. No, he doesn't. And the one thing I will say about Corey's team is not only is he a repeat offender, he has officially locked himself into the toilet bowl. He cannot make playoffs. So Corey, congratulations on getting that locked up. Battle for the plate. Remember, we have it in the rules. It has to go on the back of your car, your back of your vehicle. Next matchup we have between Brandon and Mitch. Oh, and I'm sorry. I should be doing magic numbers since I just said that. Corey has magic number 6, so he's officially out. And Perk is 6-6 and in 7th place. First team out of playoffs if they started today, which they don't. He's in a 3-way tie with the record of 6-6, but he's the fewest points. Perk has a magic number of 3. Next matchup we have between Brandon and Mitch. And these boys right now are both in the playoff hunt. Brandon won 96 to 93. So close matchup, but just 2 dog shit showings this week. I mean, nobody should ever win with 96 points. It's kind of actually sad. But hey, if Brandon has built his team on one thing this year, it's winning with the fewest points, because he has literally scored the fewest points other than Corey, so he's second fewest in the league, and he's in 4th place. He was in second for a while. Brandon literally has nobody on his team worth mentioning. Russell Wilson was almost worth mentioning, but I'm guessing Russell Wilson scored more points in his fantasy game that he was playing in his head in warm-ups than he actually did in the real game. Mitch had Antonio Gibson, speaking of old names, 24 points got him, but didn't matter because he lost. And Christian McCaffrey is on the IR for Mitch for the second time this year. I want to say the third time in 2 years or four. I don't know. Mitch and I were talking about him last night. I'm quite certain Christian McCaffrey has been on IR for Mitch more years than Mitch has had Christian McCaffrey, if that makes any sense. Magic numbers for these boys. Both have the same record of 7-5. Mitch is in third. Brandon is in fourth. Magic numbers for each of them of 2. You remember that's your. It's based off of whoever is in 7th place. I know I said that all the time. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Next matchup, for the sake of trying to burn through this as fast as possible. Mike versus Nick. Mike, you're kind of on a little bit of a slump here. Mike was just coming out like a bat out of hell, but I think he has lost the last 2 games. And Nick has won the last 2 games. So there's that. 123 to 142. Mike loses to Nick. Both teams are 6-6. Mike is in 5th place. Nick is in 6th place. Taking a look at the matchups here super quick. Mike had Joe Mixon get him 32 points. And that's all that's worth mentioning. On Nick's side of the matchup, he had Cordell Patterson get him 28 points. And he had his kicker, Daniel Carlson, former Viking, 5th-round draft pick, get him 21 points. But we didn't need that guy. 183 yards of field goal. Good for Daniel Carlson and 3 PATs. So yeah, both of those guys magic number is 3. Yep, just making sure. And moving on to the next matchup, which is between Ben and Nate. Now, we talked about how Brandon got lucky. If you want to talk, well, there's a couple teams that got lucky this week. I'm not going to lie. One of them being our first place leader, Nate. He snuck out a win, 146 to 145. So he won by a point. He won by actually 0.9 points, if you want to go down the decimal. Ben had Mark Andrews get him a touchdown, and his catches, he had 16.5 points in like the first quarter, at least the first half, if not the first quarter. So literally, if Mark Andrews would have just caught the ball, he could have gotten negative -1 yard or no yards. But he couldn't do it. Literally cost Ben the game. Ben 5-7 in 8th place. Nate stays in 1st place at 8-4. Matchup wise, we have Ben, who had 22 points from Justin Herbert, 20 points from the Stephon Diggs, 20 points from Jonathan Taylor, a slight regression from last week, and he had 29 points from Jalen Waddle. I know I've mentioned Jalen Waddle a couple of times. He's been a sneaky play this year, especially down in Miami. Most people wouldn't start a guy like that. But hey, Ben has the balls to start 2 tight ends. He obviously has the balls to start Jalen Waddle, especially in the flex, where Ben usually likes to start another tight end. Nate, on the other hand, had Derek Carr, 21 points. Adam Thielen, 23 points. T. Higgins, 23 points. Leonard Fournette, speaking of, again, old guys, 3 touchdowns, 44 points. Good for him. Nate, now, I screwed up because I was actually talking to Nate, and I told him that he had locked up a playoff spot. He technically hasn't. The calculation that I was using this year, so my apologies, maybe it was a good thing we had a break in between, was based off of a regular season of 13 games. We switched that. We voted that playoffs start in week 15 since there's 18 total games this year. So playoffs will go week 15, 16, 17, so 14 regular season games. The formula that I was using was going off 13 regular season games. So my apologies on that if the numbers seem like they haven't changed much in 2 weeks. But like I said, Nate has a magic number of 1, so he doesn't even need to win next week to lock up a playoff spot. Ben, however, in 8th place with 5-7, has a magic number 4, so he's still in it. And then the matchup of the week goes to myself and Matt. And now, how I said, there's a couple lucky players, there are teams this week. I'm not saying, so I beat Matt 110 to 99. And I'm not saying that, hold on, come on, load. No way, shape, or form saying I should have blown Matt out. We both were projected for pretty much the same bye week shit, whatever. But Going into the Monday night game, he had Kareem Hunt and Austin Hooper starting, and I had Baltimore's defense. Kareem Hunt and Austin Hooper combined him for 2 points, and I got 14 points on my defense. So maybe that's what you get for starting 2 guys on Cleveland with Baker at the helm, but hey, Matt's in second, so who am I to question how he plays his team? I'm in ninth. Like I said, I won 110 to 99. I'm 5-7 and in ninth place. Matt is 7-5 and in second place. Matchup wise, let's look here. I had 29 points out of Josh Allen, 20 points out of AJ Dillon, who Perk did not want, 20 points out of Nick Folk, and honestly, the rest of my team was dog shit. 4 points out of 10 points out of my wide receivers, 10 points on my running back, 4 points out of my tight end. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't have won. Let's be honest. But Matt had a dud out of Kirk. The only person worth mentioning on his team is Austin Eckler, who got him 22 points. So, anyways, my magic number is 4. Matt's magic number is 2. So, we have 2 weeks left. We are in week 13. And, we're in week 13. And we got some pretty interesting matchups. I face Perk, who we're both trying to climb back up into that playoff spot. Ben faces Matt. Matt's, I'm not saying he's got a spot clinch, but it'd be pretty hard for Matt not to get a spot. But Ben has been surging. I mean, Ben is literally in 8th place and has scored more points than any of us in this league. So it would be really interesting. It'd be really fun if Ben would score the most points and not make it into playoffs. That'd be kind of whatever. Brandon and Mike, they're both 4th and 5th place. They're facing each other. Nate and Mitch, 1st and 3rd place, they're facing each other. And then you got Nick facing Corey. Corey, like I said, is the only one who has locked up any sort of a playoff spot. He is in the toilet bowl, but he could definitely play spoiler for Nick, since Nick is the last guy in playoffs right now if they started today, which they don't. So that one went a little long. My apologies on that, but wanted to get through everything. Again, sorry that I wasn't able to get to these sooner. Good luck. I'm sure we'll have some guys locked up next week, and we'll review then. See you, boys.